It's not about I win, you lose. The other thing is, when you look at the Congress, though, it's like 24 hours since John McCain was put to death. And John McCain was put to death. And John McCain was put to death. And John McCain was put to death. And
let's talk about the law at war. Is there a body of law called the law of armed conflict?
There is such a body, Senator.
Is there a body of law that's called basic criminal law?
Yes, Senator.
Are there differences between those two bodies of law?
Yes, Senator.
From an American citizen's point of view, do your constitutional rights follow you? If you're in Paris, does the Fourth Amendment protect you as an American from your own government?
From your own government, yes.
Okay. So, if you're in Afghanistan, do your constitutional rights protect you against your own government?
If you're an American in Afghanistan, you have constitutional rights as against the U.S. government.
Is there a long-standing...
That's long-settled law.
Isn't there also a long-settled law that goes back to Eisenstrater case? I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, Johnson versus Eisentrater.
Right. Eisenstrater case, I can't remember the name of it.
Yeah, Johnson versus Eisentrater.
Right.
Johnson versus Eisentrater.
That American citizens who collaborate with the enemy have considered enemy combatants.
They can be. They can be. They're sometimes criminally prosecuted, sometimes treated in the military.
Let's talk about can be.
Under Supreme Court precedent.
Right. There's a Supreme Court decision that said that American citizens who collaborated with Nazi saboteurs were tried by the military. Is that correct?
That is correct.
I think a couple of them were executed.
Yeah.
So if anybody doubts, there's a long-standing history in this country that your constitutional rights follow you wherever you go, but you don't have a constitutional right to turn on your own government and collaborate with the enemy of the nation. You'll be treated differently. What's the name of the case, if you can recall, that reaffirmed the concept that you could hold one of our own as an enemy combatant if they were engaged in terrorist activities in Afghanistan? Are you familiar with that case?
Yeah, Pondy.
So the bottom line is, I want every American citizen to know you have constitutional rights, but you do not have a constitutional right to collaborate with the enemy. There's a body of law well developed long before 9/11 that understood the difference between basic criminal law and the law of armed conflict. Do you understand those differences?
I do understand that they're different bodies of law, of course, Senator.
When you open your heart to patriotism, there is no room for prejudice. When America is united, America is totally unstoppable.
Partisan politics behind Pelosi's statements and actions. And a batch of recently released FBI files from more than half a century ago might provide a clue. According to documents dating back to 1947, then FBI Director J. Edgar Hoover suspected Pelosi's father, also a prominent figure in the Democrat Party, of ties to the mafia.
Without law and order, society will destroy itself.
Pelosi's father, Thomas D'Alessandro Jr., was a Democrat congressman from Maryland between 1939 and 47, and the mayor of Baltimore from 1947 to 59. He drew the attention of the FBI in the mid-40s when the Bureau was investigating one of Baltimore's top mafia bosses, Benjamin Magliano, also known as Benny Trotza. The Bureau found Magliano was frequently accompanied by D'Alessandro, whose daughter Nancy was 7 years old at the time.
She'll cut your head off and you won't even know you're bleeding. That's all you need to know about her. No one ever won betting against Nancy Pelosi.
Subsequently, the Bureau examined reports that the Baltimore Mafia was working with D'Alessandro to secure his numerous re-elections to Congress in the early 1940s. At the time, reports alleged Pelosi's father was protecting criminals and receiving bribes. After the Republican Party took control of Congress in the 1946 election, the Baltimore crew allegedly helped D'Alessandro become mayor of their town. This could explain Pelosi's warm feelings towards organized crime, as the mafia supposedly helped her family during the hard times of economic depression and war.
So very simply, if you want more caravans and more crime, because crime comes with it, vote for the Democrats. Vote for them.
The FBI's probe into Pelosi's father didn't produce any arrests, charges, or indictments. Despite Hoover's warnings of public corruption, mob ties, and favoritism in the office of Baltimore mayor, President John Kennedy appointed D'Alessandro as member of the U.S. Renegotiation Board in 1961. His 21-year-old daughter Nancy was making her first steps in Democrat politics at the time.
We want every member of Congress to respect the truth.
Christian Rose, One American News.
Kimasabi, never in all my life have I heard an Indian speak of a chief's son as a dumb kid.